Today we get to talk about shape shifting. I'm wa-shay-la Sananda. Thank you for joining me. So, interesting theme today. It's shape shifting because when I first woke up this morning, before I got out of bed, before I really even opened my eyes, I tuned in with Source, which I do. I meditate before I even get out of bed. And I asked, is there a theme for the day? And I heard shape shifting. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then I just asked, show me more, tell me more about that. And I practice shamanism. I'm a galactic shaman, as you may be aware of. So I use shape shifting pretty much all the time, often throughout my daily life, in ways that most people probably wouldn't think of as shape shifting. And so my guidance was showing me I expand my consciousness throughout the day to tune in, for instance, with my plants, with my animals, with the trees in the yard, with various things, even the birds or the dolphins. When I go to the beach, I tune in with the dolphins. Quite often they show up for me when I do that. It's not as difficult as you might think. And it's actually something that we can do kind of as a lifestyle. And it's about exploring expanded states of consciousness, which is the theme for my next summit, which is coming out next month. So, in this expanded state of consciousness known as shape-shifting, it's where we move our conscious awareness out of our own body and we put it into the thing that we're choosing to shape-shift into. And this isn't bound to animals. Many people are familiar with shape-shifting into animals. It can also be plants. It can be elements, it can be the wind, the water. It can be galactic consciousness. It can be many different types of beings. And I'm including the elements. I'm including other things beyond what we think of as physical beings. So shape-shifting is when you project your consciousness to make contact with another being. And then you have the experience of what that being is experiencing, what that being's feeling, what they're doing. And at a highly adept level, you can actually take the reins or take control of what is happening and move that being or direct that being. And I just want to add here, I would never take advantage of anyone or anything in a way where I would control them or manipulate them without consent. That is not what this is about. This is about having an expanded experience of consciousness where I myself am really making contact with myself in a higher state. I am all that is. We all are. Everybody is that I am oneness. And so when you expand out of yourself and make contact with your I am presence and you feel your oneness, your wholeness, then you're actually a part of everyone and everything. Therefore, here's something I do daily. I've been watching my videos. I'm growing baby mango tree saplings right now. I have 7 of them growing on my lanai, and I check in with them regularly throughout the day. I will go walk out there and check on them. But when I first wake up in the morning, before I even get up, I'm checking in consciously with them. How are you? How are you doing today? How was your night? And just kind of noticing and seeing, and I can feel what they're feeling. And I can actually feel if one of them's experiencing some sort of trauma. One of them's doesn't have any leaves. It's going through something. I could tune in and feel that and just see, what can I do for you? And it's a type of empathy in a sense. There's the empathic where it's not full shape shifting. It's just feeling the emotions or feeling the experience, the sensations that other being's having. But then there's the actual projection of consciousness into the being. This is really great to use. I like to use it for trees and plants, but also animals. I've done this with birds. I've done this with various types of wildlife. I'm remembering a coyote right now that I saw when I lived in Texas that I projected into for a moment. And you can also, you could do this with anything, like I said, the water, certainly dolphins and whales. It's really fun to project your consciousness into them. So just to unpack this a little bit more, how do you project your consciousness? It's like I said before, first getting in touch with the part of you that's much bigger than this physical human body. So you're expanding out into consciousness, really making connection with the quantum field. And from that space, you can make a choice to experience another being. And so, for instance, sometimes when I go to the beach, I will be walking and I'll see a dolphin or two, or a pod of dolphin, and I will project my consciousness toward them, say hello, like get into their group, see what they're up to. It's, usually pretty fun energy to tap into. And then at times I will actually choose to embody one of them with my consciousness. So to enter into the experience that it's having, it's, in a sense, it's like a walk-in experience, a temporary walk-in experience where I'm just stepping into that physicality for a moment to experience another way of being, another way of playing. And you can simultaneously hold the experience of, for instance, being a dolphin and being a human at the same time, being yourself. And so there's this sort of dual consciousness feeling and experience that we can have. And I'm telling you this to make it, not to complicate it, but to make it as simple as possible. The main pieces, all you really need to do this is number one, is just have the desire to be sure that you're doing it for the highest good, not to manipulate anyone, because you can do this with people too, but that can be an infringement unless, it's a situation where maybe a person's in a coma and you're trying to make contact with that person's consciousness and see how their body's doing. Then that might be for a benevolent, purposeful reason. So tread lightly or carefully. This is for fun and play, for yourself to experience more as a consciousness, to experience more life, more different physical forms while you're here, to get to experience, it's fun to experience being a bird and flying around. It's fun to experience swimming like a dolphin. It's fun to be different forms of life. How about an octopus, a seahorse? I've certainly done that one many times. There are just so many different things. It's also really interesting to make contact with the weather, and particularly if there's a storm or a tornado or a hurricane coming toward you that you're aware of, you can actually make contact with that consciousness and move into it, and not forcefully, at least this is my technique, is not to forcefully move it away, but to make contact with it and ask for the highest good to move in a different direction. And, you'll feel if it's meant to, maybe you're protecting a whole community and it is right to push it away from land into the water or something like that. So that's a way of shapeshifting into the weather. And then you can actually do weather modification for the highest good. So these are just some examples, a handful of examples of shapeshifting and expanded states of consciousness and what you can use it for. And so I wouldn't be complete in this if I didn't talk about shifting into a higher dimension of reality, and particularly here, the new earth and the golden realm, which is something that I do regularly as well. And I know many of you are doing it too, because you've told me about it. And so this is when you get in touch with your higher self, or a higher aspect of yourself that's already present in, we'll say, 5D and higher consciousness, higher aspects of consciousness than what you're experiencing now. And you tune in to that experience, to that expression of yourself, and you start to give and receive information. So receiving information, what is it like? How does it feel here? Who am I being in this body when I'm here? What are we doing? How are we behaving? Who are we with? All of those types of things. And so you'll see if you do manifestation techniques, this technique is very similar to what a lot of manifestation teachers will tell you to do, to imagine that the whole scene of something that you're creating. Let's say you're working on manifesting your dream house or your dream relationship or your dream relationship in your dream house. Then you want to imagine all of that and then enter into it with your consciousness. So you're thinking from the experience, not of the experience. And when you're in the experience and you're thinking from the experience, then you might start to think of yourself in the body that you're in now as, oh, I see myself in that other body. And because you're thinking from the new body that you've created for yourself to be in, or that you projected yourself into. Or if you're being a hawk or an eagle, you can fly above your physical body and look down and say, oh, look, there I am in that body. But you're thinking from the body of that which you've projected yourself into. And that is shapeshifting. And it's very aligned with manifestation and reality, conscious life creation, creating your reality by who you're being. And I feel like in this experience, the key element is to become so clear, be so clear that you are that thing, that your consciousness is in it, that you're experiencing it, you're feeling from it, you're feeling as it. And then that's really where the shift happens, when you begin to think from that other state of consciousness or that other being's consciousness. And that too is where true, just deep empathy comes from. Empathy from feeling the beingness of another being that's not yourself, because you've left your conscious mind, your personality, and your ego with this body, and you've entered into a different mind, a different body, even though it's part of yourself because you're connected to everything and all that is. It's a different expression of the divine in a different form. It thinks differently, it behaves differently, it has a different body or physical expression or non-physical expression. And so this is also how, in a sense, how I contact myself in different galactic bodies. I have a Syrian aspect that is a Mer person. It's in Mer life. I can see from, and there's a female version of myself in Sirius B in a mer body, if you want to call it a mermaid, a mer being, and I can see from her eyes. I can think from her mind. I can tell you what the scene looks like and what she's doing, what I'm doing when I'm being her, and what's going on there. Same with a dolphin body, whale body, sea turtle body, all of those things. I can have the experience of being and then tell you, what does it feel like? What is it like? And my guess is, if you practice this, you can do this too, because this is one of our gifts as consciousness in human form. We are not locked into human form. Once we learn to get out and explore, we're not bound to this body. We can go experience many different types of beings, many different types of bodies. I find this particularly helpful in growing plants, because I can tune in and find out what's going on, what's wrong with them. Sometimes, unfortunately, they just want to die. Maybe it's not unfortunate, but if I want to keep them and they want to go, sometimes it's for me, okay, I get it. I have to let go. But I really like that plant, right? So I try to save it. But if it wants to go, it wants to go. It's not right for me then to intervene. I will just leave you with that disclaimer of, absolutely go try this, play with it, and be aware not to infringe on another being's free will, and not to be manipulative. You're only doing this for the highest good of all. You're having the experience, but you're not necessarily trying to control the experience. unless you're doing a reality creation, conscious life creation for yourself. And then it's just your own experience that you're controlling. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope this was helpful for you today. I would love to hear it in the comments. Have you tried this? Are you trying this? Is this something you do regularly? Is this something you've never even thought of, but you're going to try? Let me know what you're experiencing. What are your results? If this is enjoyable to you, please give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet. You could click that little bell for notifications if you want to get updates on what's coming out next. And I just appreciate you so much. I love you and cherish you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Namaste.